either told Bert that we've not received a letter from them either, and Barb hasn't talked to them. So this has all been funneled through the school board.
But the application was submitted excluding Sears School?
Yes.
Okay. And so then if the state kicks it back,
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
then we will, well, it's very simple. If you're gonna pursue it and the state kicks it back, you have no choice but to override the decision by Sears School.
Or talk to them again and see
Or
if
have
they're
them
still feeling
reconsider.
the same way. Right.
Okay.
Or drop it entirely.
Right.
Well,
Could you elaborate on that thought, Trustee Terrell?
excuse me,
Or
would
dro-
you please address the chair?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
What was your
President
question?
Chisholm, my question was whether Trustee Terrell could elaborate on drop the matter altogether.
I think he was, well, I can't answer for Trustee Terrell.
It's just one of three options that we have before us.
Okay.
Will have, yeah, possibly.
We will have.
We will have under
We will have.
the scenario
Okay.
that they kick back the application.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So there's no action that needs to be taken?
Not as I understand it.
It would be good to have a consensus of the board so that I can direct a letter to Andrew explaining that the nomination documents, the board considered this and stands behind the nomination documents as submitted. I think that would be
Now, we
important.
got, well, but do we need, I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, it's there, it's, we're waiting on a decision, so, I mean, do you want, are you asking that they want a reinforcement, that we're holding our positions?
I need to respond to the letter. Andrew has asked for a response from the village.
Well, and I think that we can do that. We can send him a very short letter.
Oh, absolutely.
Telling
Absolutely.
him, okay, so I don't think we need board action to send a response back that
In
we're in the
addition to
same
that,
position.
in addition to that, though, could you send them the school packet too, so that they see what we gave the school and what the school gave back to us, just so they have the background?
Sure.
I think that's a good idea. I also made a statement at a board meeting, and Julie Campanero asked for a copy of that statement. She forwarded it to all the school board members, and Brad, you forwarded it to all the trustees.
Who's Julie?
Secretary.
She's the secretary for the superintendent.
Oh, yes.
She's the one who attends the meetings.
Yes, I know she.
So I'd like to have that statement included with that packet that went to the school. That went
Before you
The packet's
really
growing.
get tired, yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of that, the meeting minutes, as you recall, Mr. Triber came to, I believe it was our March meeting, and all the way through June, we were discussing the school issue.
Right.
So I think all those minutes would probably be eliminating also.
President Chisholm, may I ask our manager a question? It was
Please.
my understanding in one of the comments you made, Brad, and I may have misinterpreted, that the school owned property up along the railroad track that actually went to Winnetka.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If that is the case, why is this a donut? If
Yeah, it's
you
a flag
basically come down along that line,
That's an interpretation. I am not
Right.
the
is
state
that, is the
agency.
state saying that they
Creates the
won't
appearance
accept
of a
that?
donut because the properties surrounding all of both sides and all other sides except for one small opening at the village boundary are surrounded and have been identified via the survey.
Isn't it more a slice of pie?
It's more
Well,
of a
I
keyhole.
think Barb could explain this very well. It's a flag lot that
Yeah.
we deal with all the
It's almost
time.
like a bud
Right.
box. It has
Okay.
a big
Right.
bubble in the bottom of the
All right.
long
Right.
Yeah.
It seems to me that it would be important to point out that our interpretation that it is not a donut and it is simply all property owned by the schools we've excluded.
If you read his letter, I think he
Yeah,
understands.
he understands that.
He knows that it's only a.
Well,
that
and
it's
Ted's
a-
gonna do the justification too, so I'm sure they'll cover that.
Okay.
Excuse me, President Chisholm.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify for a minute. Again, Kelly Cobor, 620 Abbotsford Road. So I was at a lot of those meetings, maybe not all of them, but it was never my understanding that that removing the school would give the entire process about a 50-50 chance of making it past the state. Was that at any time discussed? Okay.
Those exact words were,
I don't,
we had a committee
yeah,
meeting
I
about
don't
this.
think,
We knew it would be a challenge, but I don't know that there was ever percentages of.
Right,
like-
we never,
Because the meetings, my understanding from the talking to members of the school board is that their understanding is it's done. So now to have this 50-50 chance that it gets kicked back that's one problem that I have with what everybody is saying here, which is very interesting. The second problem is that, well, let me just start with a question. If I can ask Brad, how many hundreds of hours he's devoted to this process so far in the year or so that it's been going on? How many man hours? How much of our taxpayer dollars has gone into preparation? Also, Attorney Adams. How much money and how much time and how many other things are not being done by this board for a 50-50 chance that it's not going to be kicked back from the states? And then we have to go to people and ask them to send notarized letters for a 50-50 chance that it's going to go through. I mean, I'm just a little bit disturbed by this. So Brad, would you mind answering the question? I'm sorry. I asked and I kept going on.
Which one?
I don't know that I have that answer. I don't.
No
still
way.
hours.
No?
It's out of
I
bounds.
would wanna
No
know
estimates?
Saw my hourly rate deflated.
There's
to a
been
dollar a
many,
minute.
Well, we could.
Ms. Hawker, there have been many hours expended by this board and the committees, and
And if I could respond, I do recall the reason, if I can recall the school meeting, the joint meeting, there was a definite mention that the donut hole approach has not received support, or is not something that the federal government or the state government would generally support. I know that has been out there as part of the discussion. So I think there was an acknowledgement that there was a bit of an uphill battle on that part, given how the guidelines on how to prepare the nominations for a district are presented.
Well, in our committee meeting, that's what we discussed tonight too.
I don't know that there was
The
a...
impact.
but this is the first written information that we've received about challenging and questioning the submission. Is that not correct? I mean, it's the first time I've seen it.
And in my conversations with the village's consultant, who had the 30 years of history with the state agency, my understanding is he had only, or at least in my conversation with him, he could only recall one other proposed district that had a similar boundary discussion that was handled at the ISAC level, the advisory council level, and that wasn't quite the same in concept. It ultimately, since anybody can make a nomination, it ultimately ended up with two competing nominations before the council, and the council voted no on the one that was the donut shape, if you will, and voted to approve the other. And that's the only one that Mr. Hill could recall. And I didn't get into the specifics as to why there were two competing nominations.
But he's
Well,
also the
obviously
one,
there was disagreement.
Yeah.
and he's the one who will be defending our nomination. So that's what we have to go on, his experience and expertise in this area.
Well,
defend
I
it.
must admit that I was very surprised to realize that we were at risk of having it returned, that because we had the donut or the keyhole or whatever the terminology is. But anyway, it is what it is. So yes, Trustee Spintana.
And, I think you said it, and unless I missed it, I don't recall at the board level us having this conversation. It may have been in minutes, may have been at the committee level. And for him to come out and say it's a major concern,
Yeah.
that was news to me.
Yeah.
Well, we had not received that before that. We had talked about it with our consultant, and he said, just, put it in. We just got this letter.
But the consultant, when the school board voted to be excluded, were they advised that they really didn't have any jurisdiction and that we could include them if and so the board so decided?
Yes. Yes.
And then was it discussed then that if we didn't include them, that there would be a 50-50 chance that the state or the...
We didn't have those numbers,
we didn't
and we
know
didn't
that.
have this letter from the state, so this is all...
And they argued, when that discussion happened, they argued that they didn't feel we did have the jurisdiction to include them. That's where the conversation...
So that's what I understood. But then our consultant tells us otherwise.
Correct,
But their consultant tells them otherwise.
correct.
Okay, that makes me very unhappy. Okay, all right, we can handle that letter with all the accompanying information. You got that right? Okay.